Greetings, everyone. This is the Gardening Snail of Livingston, California, just trying to keep the community informed and local government as honest as possible. In this video, we will be doing a brief overview of the agenda packet for the December 20th, 2022 City Council meeting. You may participate in the meeting via teleconference by calling 520-525-8911. The meeting will also be streamed on YouTube Live. Persons requesting accommodation should contact the Deputy City Clerk at least 24 hours prior to this meeting at 209-394-8041, extension 121. Any writings or documents pertaining to an open session item provided to a majority of the members of the legislative body less than 72 hours prior to the meeting shall be made available for public inspection by email if requested. Public comments can be submitted via email at citycouncil@livingstoncity.com. Comments must be received by 2 p.m. on the day of the City Council meeting in order for them to be distributed to the Council prior to consideration of the matter. You will need to provide meeting date, item number, name, email, and comment. Please limit to 300 words or 3 minutes. Please include public comment in the subject for the email. Written comments will not be read aloud at the meeting, but will be reported as received for the record. If you do not receive an acknowledgement of receipt by 4 p.m., please call the City Clerk's office at 209-394-8041, extension 121. Note, this technology is not a guaranteed method. After the call to order, pledge, moment of silence, roll call, and changes to the agenda, there are citizens' comments. This section of the agenda allows members of the public to address the City Council on any item not otherwise on the agenda. After citizens' comments is announcements and reports, and look what I see. The county supervisor has officially been added back to the agenda with an opportunity to provide his own announcements and reports. After announcements and reports is the consent agenda. Items on the consent calendar are considered routine or non-controversial and will be enacted by one vote unless separate action is requested by the city manager or city council member. Item number 1, waiving of reading of ordinance and resolutions, is a regular item on the consent calendar, as is item number 2, ratifying the check warrant. Item number 3 is a contract to provide property tax consulting / audit services. Item 4 is a master services agreement to continue providing sales tax analysis. Item 5 is about spending $10,000 to get the new City Council members and Commission members their required ethics and sexual harassment training. Item number 6 is approving an amendment to an agreement with Gilton Solid Waste Management to extend the agreement for an additional 5 months. Because the contract ends the end of this month and the city still needs to go through the request for proposal process. Item number 7 is about applying for federal funds in order to do a sidewalk project in various places in the city. Item number 8 is about the audit and financial statements for the fiscal year that ended June 30th, 2021. In years past, an audit like this would have been ready at least by November or December 2021, or maybe even early 2022. To say this audit strikes me as being late, very, very late, would be an understatement. Moving on to the closed session at the very end of the meeting, there are 2 cases of existing litigation, 3 cases of anticipated litigation, and conference with labor negotiator for the position of Public Service Director. Now let's move on and take a look at a few details from some staff reports. This one is about the property tax consulting. HDL Corrin and Cohen has been providing contract staff support services to the City of Livingston since January 2007. The scope of work in this contract remains the same. The annual fee has increased to $6,000 per year or $2,000 per quarter. For sales tax analysis under background, this group has also been providing services since January 2007. The scope of services includes sales and use tax and economic analysis/forecasting services and reports. The annual fee has increased from $375 to $400 per month. Now let's take a look a little more about that use of $10,000 of general fund money for state-mandated training for City Council and Commission members. Because the City Council and Commission members are required to take ethics training and sexual harassment training in order to meet compliance requirements, management reached out to the Institute for Local Governments to get a quote for services. Under fiscal impact, the $10,000 would be used to fund the workshops and cannot be used for any other purposes. Moving on to the Gilton contract, under background, we read, the city has contracted with Gilton Solid Waste Management Incorporated since 1986, and the current contract is set to expire on December 31st, 2022. The city issued a request for proposal for solid waste services, and it is expected that the process to receive, evaluate, select, and negotiate a contract will take approximately 5 months. The 5-month contract extension does not reflect a fee increase, at least for this point in time. We'll see what happens when the proposals come in. About that sidewalk project we mentioned earlier, MCAG is in the process of programming $3 million in future federal funds for the Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Program. The sidewalk infill project Livingston is proposing is summarized as consisting of new sidewalks and wheelchair ramps at various locations on the north side of the City of Livingston. This is a quality of life project and a continuation of the current CMAQ pedestrian improvement project currently under construction in this area. It focuses on the construction of sidewalks where there are still discontinuities in pedestrian facilities, hence providing connectivity and safe pedestrian access to schools, commercial areas, parks, churches, etc. The preliminary total estimated project cost is $500,000. All CMAQ funded projects require a local match of 11.47%. These local matching funds can be committed from the city's local Measure V allocation, SB1 allocation, or use other available local funds. This shows you where those proposed sidewalks would be constructed. Wrapping up with a few things from the staff report and documentation of the audit. Staff recommendation is that the City Council accept the City of Livingston Independent Auditor's Report and financial statements dated June 30th, 2021, City of Livingston Independent Auditor's Report and financial statements dated June 30th, 2021, and Management Report for year ended June 30th, 2021. The audit report was an unqualified, clean audit opinion. However, as indicated on the schedule of findings and question costs on page 75, there was a finding of material weakness related to the recording of capital assets. Per the management's response and corrective action section, the Finance Department acknowledged the error and will reconcile fixed assets periodically going forward. Cost of the audit was just under $40,000. The document itself is nearly 90 pages long. What I'm going to do here is point out the long-term debt portion, because these will have an impact on future water, garbage, and sewer rates going forward. The first one shown here was to finance energy conservation improvements on certain city properties. The goal being to reduce the amount the city was spending on electricity costs. Next is a water loan with the State Water Resource Control Board to fund major improvements to well number 17. Loans like these impact your water bill because they need to be paid back. Next is the sewer revenue refunding bonds. You know how people will sometimes refinance a house when interest rates drop so their mortgage payments might be a little less? Well, if I'm remembering my history correctly, once upon a time, several years ago, the state slapped a building moratorium on the city, meaning the city could not issue any new building permits until they expanded the capacity of the wastewater treatment plant. So the city issued a large bond issue to buy property and get the wastewater treatment plant expansion done. What this is, in layman's terms, is refinancing what was already done in order to get a better deal on the interest rate. This affects future sewer bills because of the promises the city had to make in order to do this financing and the fact that it needs to be paid back as part of your sewer bill. This is another loan with the State Water Resource Control Board to finance certain city well improvements, which will also eventually need to be paid back. I'm going to wrap up by touching on contingent liabilities. The city is a defendant in various lawsuits and claims. The city attorney anticipates that actual or potential claims against the city not covered by insurance would not materially affect the financial position of the city, which in layman's terms is something like, nah, the general fund isn't going to get hurt much. The insurance is going to suck up most of the cost of all these lawsuits. Kind of like saying the attorneys will make out like bandits, but the general fund won't take a major hit, so no harm, no foul. If you like what I do here, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Facebook. And don't forget the disclaimer, editorial content is my own as a resident of Livingston and City Council watcher since at least 2007, and does not represent the views and opinions of the City Council or the City of Livingston, and certainly does not represent any kind of legal advice.